there's a new name for enemies that we're facing. It's Al-Qaeda, then ISIS, and now American patriots. Who would have thought those who love the country the most would be hated on by folks who call America home? Both political parties are equally just as evil. They've been working for themselves, don't give a damn about the people. Black, white, yellow, brown, humanity needs you. Cause united we stand, divided they will defeat you. The man on the news says the problem is me. I'm just a small town boy with big American dreams. The world's going crazy and they lying to us. Don't know who to believe, so in God we trust.
Y'all missing what was written in them pages. That was history they wrote, now you wanna change it. You racist, you hate this. Why you want us all to be locked up in cages? I can't stand the left.
All right. Hey, how we doing this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen? That was a little Tom McDonald's. Always good with the Tom. Check it out. He came out with a new song. He always comes out with new songs on Friday. The dude's a beast. Just keeps coming out with new stuff. I don't know. There's all kinds of goofy shit going on right now. There's always goofy shit going on, you know? It's just like, it's hour by hour. I mean, most people right now are being so, they're caught up with the whole Johnny Depp thing. I'm sorry, I'm trying to quit doing the iteration with my hand thing. Sitting here looking like Jen Psaki. But everybody's been so wound up about this goofy shit with Johnny Depp and this Amber Heard, you know? And I mean, you had a bad relationship. Wrap it up, all right? Wrap it up. You know, just wrap it up. Who else goes through something like that just because they're famous, because they're, you know, I mean, and don't get me wrong, I love Johnny Depp, but he's one of my favorite actors, for sure, for sure. I mean, Fear and Loathing, you know, even going back to that movie, What's Eating Gilbert Grape, with Leonardo DiCaprio and him in it. Great movie, great movie. What else was he in? Oh, Edward Scissorhands. You know, he was in a couple of duds. I always liked that first Pirates of the Caribbean. As those things went on, I kind of was like, eh. The other thing the dude is he's a badass guitarist. He's a hell of a musician. You know? I mean, I don't know if any of you have ever seen him. He plays in a band called Hollywood Vampires. And they're good. It's him, Alice Cooper, Joe Perry from Aerosmith. And he sits up there and jams right with them. I mean, there's songs he plays lead on, there's songs he sings on. I mean, that's why he went to Hollywood in the first place, was to pursue a career as a musician. I like that a lot about him, because I'm a horrible guitar player, you know, but I love the guitar, and I wish I could play it better. And I'm trying. I practice. I try to practice every day, but I just got a new pedal too. That thing's loud. The wind's blowing today. Maybe it's a good day to play when I get done doing this. I was thinking about that, or going out. I don't know. Anyway, what I was thinking of, with the wind blowing and everything, you know, I started thinking about, because my internet always gets all kind of wacky when the wind blows out here. And so I've brought this up before, and I've always thought about it. But I kind of laid out an outline of what would happen if we were to lose either power or the internet. Now, I think if we were to lose the internet, we would probably lose power as well, if it was to be prolonged. I know this happened a number of years back, and people here in Cody, somebody had hit one of the lines. Somebody had hit one with I don't know what it was, with a Traco, Bobcat, something like that, and it shut the internet down, and phones went down. And I woke up in the morning and was going to call in a paint order. No phone. Oh, well, just go get it. Go in there. There's people lined up. They're going nuts. They're losing their minds over not having a phone. I mean, so we got to look at what would happen. Like, this is the little town, Cody, Wyoming, right? Most of us out here, if you wanted to talk about people that would be survivalists, that's the type of people that live here. It's a harsh environment. It can get incredibly hot and it can get incredibly cold. And so we all have to take measures during the winter and stuff. It's not just a temperate climate that just stays, within 10 degrees. I mean, we're talking about 20, 30 below in the wintertime, sometimes upwards of 105, 110 in the summer. I mean, so you're talking like myself, I changed and put different types of oil in my truck. I've got to put different additives in there. You've got to be set up to be able to plug in. You got a block heater on your stuff. Heat's a big thing. And then in the summertime too, I mean, like around the house, we got to, close blinds at certain times of the day. Anyway, what I'm saying is a little rural place like this would probably fare a hell of a lot better than, I always think about like, what would LA be like, right? Like if everything went down. I mean, you look at you think about this, okay, in context, okay? You're sitting there, you're doing your thing, you're at work, you're looking like you're busy, right? But what you're doing is you got your phone underneath your desk and you're, checking out your Insta, or you're looking at Bookface or crap chat and whatever you're doing. And then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, you're shaking the phone, like what's going on here? 2-3 minutes go by, you start rebooting things, you turn your phone off, turn it back on, you turn your computer off, turn it back on, you go check your router, you go check your modem, nothing. And you kind of start to freak out. You try to get on the internet on your, nothing's working. No internet, nothing. You can't, so you think, okay, well, I got a landline here. Nope. No landline either. Because that runs off the internet, right? This is just a scenario if the internet went down, right? This isn't even talking about power. Well, let's say power goes out. So now you're in darkness. You're in the city. All of a sudden your credit card, your debit cards don't work. I would imagine without electricity, some buildings might just even, I don't know. I mean, if you got the, obviously the automatic doors or whatever and the electricity goes down, then those doors aren't moving, right? I mean, maybe you could, I guess you could push them. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. I don't think I go in any place in a given day that maybe when I go to like, let's see, who has automated door? Well, if I go to the grocery store or Baumgars or Tractor Supply. So I don't know what happens. Electricity goes out. I don't know if those doors, I think they're shut. You can probably force them open. Okay, so anyway, but people start losing their minds, right? Especially in a city. And they're sitting there, a couple, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes go by, whatever. Everybody's, people are starting to kind of freak out a little bit. The people up in Silicon Valley, they're kind of starting to freak out a little bit. They're trying to figure out, okay, can we get our backup servers online? What can we do here? And nothing's happening, right? Nothing's doing. And so somebody figures out that, hey, I have an old radio from the 90s that still gets AM, FM because the Sirius radio thing isn't going to work. And they turn that on and you get the emergency broadcast system. And let's just say this is a global thing. Just play along with me. Hypotheticals, people. You know what I mean? So you got no social media. What's everybody going to do without that? How many of you, okay, I want to ask you something. How many times you check your social media every hour during the day? I don't look at mine. This goes out on it, but I don't look at it because I just don't really, sometimes I do. On a rare occasion, I'll get on there. For the most part, I really don't care. That's why I do this. I speak my piece. I say what I have to say. And, it's out there. That's it. I don't have to sit there and go back over it. I mean, I don't care what anybody has to say. I'm not going to argue with anybody over my opinions. I mean, what I have to say is what I have to say. And, what was that Saturday Night Live bit? Talk amongst yourselves. Oh, I'm so verklempt. Okay, so back to the whole thing. If we lose everything, okay, so you got no social media, you got no phone calls that you can make, you can't get in contact with your family, landlines aren't working, no TV. You try and turn the TV on to see what's going on. TV doesn't work. You got nothing. And this is going back to my first premise with just internet going down. Okay, so we're not talking about just the power grid outage, but we're just talking about the World Wide Web is gone. So you got no satellite radio. The only thing you have is AM, FM. And if you actually have thought there, let me here. If you thought ahead, you might have one of these. Now, I have 4 of these. These work for a distance close to 30 miles. Or handheld radio. When I go out on my dirt bike, I have my phone. All right, I have a mount on my handlebars for my phone. I've got Bluetooth headphones, and I listen to Spotify through my phone. On the other side, I have a little action camera mount that sits inside of a waterproof plastic case, and use it to film if I need to. I just reach over and hit the record button on that. And then I typically carry my my Canon DSLR in my backpack. But this thing right here is the one thing that I make sure that I always have when I'm out there. Because if something were to happen, if I were to break off, if I was to eat shit and that phone gets smashed, I go over the handlebars, I'm going to have this. And I've got people that have the same things. I've got a little app on the phone that says when I'm going out, so people know, because I go out there quite a ways. And sometimes it gets a little hairy out there. I mean, I ate it the other day. I went up the wrong hill, and I knew better. And I'm sitting there looking at it at the bottom, and it's one of those straight up things. And I'm going, okay, is this the one that ends at the top and doesn't go anywhere except off a cliff, or is it that other one over there? And so I'm just like, fuck it. Went flying up, straight up, get up to the top, and I realized, shit. Because you get up to the top of this thing, it looks like a road that's just going to go up, and it's either going to go along the ridgeline or it's going to go drop down the other side. Nope. It cliffs out. And so I got to hit the brakes, stall the bike out, try to put the brakes on, but I'm so steep, and I'm on like rock, like, serious, like it's just rock, and then big chunks of rock. So the brakes don't matter because I'm just sliding right. So I'm sliding backwards, and I'm like, son of a bitch. So I got to turn I got to crank the handlebars, and I end up just pulling my left foot off, and I got to lay it down on the side because otherwise I was just going to keep going. So I lay it down, and I got to jimmy it around. But anyway, so most people don't have these. How many of you out there have one of these? Or 2 or 3 or 4? I have 4 of them. My son's got one. My mom's got one, and my buddy has one. And then there's one here at the house. Is that right? 1, 2, 3. The one at the house is my son's. Anyways, so when I go out on this app, it says that I'm out. So everybody knows that, hey, maybe, just flip the thing on. I mean, it's just a matter of that. But this thing will work. This thing will work if the internet goes down, So something to think about. Just a little survival tip. Because this thing can reach all the way to Powell, Wyoming if something goes on. So the way I'm looking at it right now, and the way I'm thinking, okay, let me just run my thought process by you, because we look at all the shit that we got going on. Okay, we've got supply chain crisis that's still happening, and nobody's come up with a solution for that. They've just kind of fucking poo-pooed it. It took me, I got a effects pedal for my guitar the other day. It finally showed up. 3 months from Shanghai. That's how long it took. I've got motorcycle parts that aren't going anywhere from China. Okay, so we have that issue going on. We still have the supply chain is screwed up. We've got, if anybody's seen, we've got a shortage on baby formula. Parents are freaking out now. I mentioned this to somebody earlier, and I don't understand why. Why in the world anybody who's trying to have children during this whole COVID thing, would you want to bring a child into this world during COVID? I can understand it if you were already expecting and then the thing hit, But I mean, to purposely bring a child into the world during that time, I mean, it's your choice, your decision. I don't want to talk about, I don't want to get into the whole thing. It's your choice. I just don't understand why. I mean, personally, if I was in a relationship and wanted to have kids, and I mean, it just would be like, hey, let's just not, it'll be all right. Let's just wait and see what happens with this. And I don't think anybody expected this to be what it turned into, because at first it was going to be like a 2-week deal. And here we still are. Here we are. Does anybody know anybody that's got this stuff right now? I don't. I know I've had it twice. I don't know anybody who's got it. I mean, I don't know. So anyway, let's go back to what happens here. The internet goes down. Okay, so now all of a sudden, our electric grid is going to fall because most of the electricity is run through, it's controlled through the internet, right? So now we've got gas pumps are down, cash registers are down, banks are down, ATMs are down, stoplights. Imagine this in a city. All of a sudden, they're not just flashing red on two sides and then yellow on the other. I mean, that's what happens like here at midnight in this town. On the main thoroughfare turns to flashing yellow, and then coming crossways, it's flashing red. So it works effectively as a two-way stop. But now the city does. Most places should have backup generators, but they're not going to last that long, right? I mean, you can, and by the time you get somebody to fire those things up, I mean, anybody remember Y2K? I was up at Mount Hood Ski Bowl, and I was working up there, and we were just having a great time because where we were at was technically a village. Nobody had cell phones. There was nobody that lived there, just kids that worked at the ski resorts. And so that New Year's Eve, we were dancing on the tables. I mean, I was bartending, I was working, I was still up, jumping around on the tables and carrying on. And we were all ready. But we had a big, huge generator down there at the base area that would actually run the whole mountain. And we had 52 lit runs up there. So we really weren't too concerned about it. We figured we got plenty of alcohol. We got food up here. We got a backup generator. If the whole thing goes caca cuckoo, then who gives a shit? We didn't care about the outside world living up there anyways. It was one of the best places I ever lived. And from what I understand, it's a whole lot different now. But government camp used to be it was very primitive. We lived in tent. It was great though. It was great. I mean, you had a couple bars. Yeah, I mean, everybody just kind of, they marched to their own beat. And everybody was young. None of us made any money. We all looked out for each other. We all took care of one another. We were all pretty tight. It was a pretty tight community, and it was something that I miss that. But there's never going to be another place like that, I don't believe. I think that we've gone too far. And that's unfortunate because that was a place that, even though it was full of debaucherous, knuckle-headed, crazy shit that would go down all the time, that was always just hilarious. And we were just, we didn't care. We didn't really, if we had to go down to Portland, we just called it going amongst the unfriendlies. Like sometimes if there was like a good concert or something down there, we'd jump in a vehicle together and we'd all go drive down the mountain. But everybody always had this weird feeling, like you'd get down to like the Gresham area, and population would start, getting denser, and everybody would kind of get quiet, and then inevitably somebody would be like, "Oh, we're down here amongst the unfriendlies," and while we'd have fun, it was always a good feeling when we were headed back up the mountain, back up the road to the mountain. I mean, even going down as far as like Sandy. Anybody familiar with that area? I mean, you hit Sandy and you're basically amongst the unfriendlies. That's what we called it. But up there, anything went, really. And, I think a community like that's going to make it too. But I remember when the whole Y2K thing, right? So midnight hits. We're listening to Lionel Richie, I think, Celebrate good times. Come on. Woo. Everybody's dancing, jumping around. And I remember going back behind the bar, looking at my point of sale screen. Nothing. Time didn't change. Nothing. So, of course, we just started celebrating harder. No big deal. But looking at everything that's gone on recently, I mean, it's like, how many more failures can we have here? I mean, virtually everything in this country is falling apart. The economy is going to shit. I don't know if anybody's been paying attention. It's done. We're wrapped up. We're basically a third world country. I mean, we are. And I don't know if there's any fixing it. You can't pump any more fake money into it. I mean, they can. It's only going to make it worse. And they'll probably try to. They already are. Look, this idiot is trying to come up with another $33 billion to send to Ukraine. What's going on over there? Where did that go? All of a sudden you have to search to find any, like I have on my third monitor up here. I've only got a 55 and a 32, and then too many monitors. I mean, look at that. My whole thing would be done if the whole thing fell apart. I'd be sitting in here with I don't know. This thing's got a flashlight on it. It's kind of cool, huh? Check this out. I have to turn it on. Nope. Come back, Cotter. Oh, I screwed up the display. Maybe I screwed the whole thing up. Maybe my battery's dead. I should probably plug that sucker in. Especially since I'm going out on the bike after this. No, anyway, this thing's got a light on the bottom. That'd be the only light I would have. I could be doing the podcast through a little freaking two-way radio. Breaker 119. No camera. I've got one of those little hand crank power things. I do have a generator, and I've got a lot of 5-gallon cans of gas. But I mean, that generator, it's a tank of fuel a day easy. And I mean, if I got it cranked up, mainly what I'd do is have it set up just to keep the refrigerator and the freezer on in case of a power outage. But let's think about this, okay? So say it goes down. Say we get hit with an EMP. And that can come from the sun. If anybody's been paying attention to solar activity recently, we have dodged a couple of bullets big time. If you get a coronal mass ejection off the sun that comes towards Earth, and I've talked about this before, but there was the Carrington event of 1859. Okay, they had turned the power off to the telegraph machines because that's how everybody communicated, right? It was stop, there was no phone. That's how you sent out a message. There we go. And they shut all that power off, and because of the surge of the electrical storm that had come off the sun, the telegraph stayed on. I mean, how crazy is that? Think about what kind of havoc that would wreak on us. And if something like that hits, okay, folks, that hits Earth's atmosphere, and it hits us, we're talking fractions, very small fractions of a second, like a billionth of a second, faster than the speed of light. Boom, it hits. It supercharges Earth's atmosphere with electrons, supercharges it. And everything goes down. They make and I don't have one here with me, but they do make a product that you can put on your vehicle. And I can't remember, they're called an EMP. Oh God, I'd have to look it up. But you should look into them. They're kind of spendy for your home. They're for your home or for your car. They're like $400. Now I've always kept an old truck around. I've got a old 85 Ford. And it still has a little bit of a brain on it, kind of. It's like but it's nothing like what my diesel has. But if you hook one of these up, I mean, it's pretty cheap, $389. And if something like that were to happen, you could still, it's not going to just fry your vehicle, because every new vehicle, I mean, has got, is run by a computer. And the same with anybody out there that's got electric cars. I mean, if you're driving around in a Tesla or a Prius or something you would definitely want to invest in something like that. At least I would if I had one of those. I have one for my diesel. I don't have one on the old Ford. I don't really think I need it on that thing, because that sucker just runs. But something to think about. And you can put one on your home too. I believe they wire up to I would guess they wire up to your main service or your breaker box somewhere on there. I don't know. I'm not an electrician. I wouldn't know. You'd have to probably talk to an electrician about that. But they do make a product for under $400 that could potentially save, all your stuff. I mean, if you look around the studio, I look around at all the things I have in here, and I'm hooked up to surge protectors on everything. But in case of if there was an EMP event, whether it be man-made or from the sun, there's no way this stuff isn't going to hold it. I mean, you're talking about something that's got I don't even know what kind of amperage it's got to be able to withstand. It's a lot. I mean, I'd have to look it up to see, but it's more than I could even imagine. So, say something like that happens. All right. So you got your bank accounts, you're not accessing. Businesses are closing down. People are getting sent home. People are getting in car accidents because there's no stoplights, right? Fires start. Police and the fire department are having a hard time getting places. Communication is breaking down. They still have radios, but a lot of that stuff is still running digitally. IT and Silicon Valley, they're still struggling. They're trying to figure it out. It's just pandemonium. This is within the first probably 15 minutes of something like this, of an event like this happening, right? Then what happens is the satellites that are up there that we use for everything, right? Well, all of a sudden they start drifting out of orbit. You know what I mean? They just start, lazily listing lazily to the left, crashing back down through our atmosphere, burning up. You got chunks of space garbage falling down on people. How long does that take to replace that system? It's not just like you're going to just do it tomorrow. People start losing their minds. No communication. Everybody can only, if you are somebody that actually happens to have an AM, FM radio, then maybe you can hear the emergency broadcast system, but that's all that's going to be out there, because they're not going to be able to broadcast, they're not putting out your favorite Creedence Clearwater song or what Drake song or whatever the hell you're listening to, and then we have stock markets, right? What starts happening there? This is just with the internet. This isn't even with power. This is internet going down. Stock market starts flopping, right? If people can dump, they do. If they're on the trading floor, they're dumping. If they can, which they probably can't even do that. So you've got an economy and let's say this is a global event. You've got global economies crashing and burning. Done. Maybe that's what we need. I mean, the economy is just another stupid thing that I can get into, but let's say that something like this happens, right? You got economies that are just, done. Militaries have gas-powered vehicles that can probably still stay running. They probably have the biggest generators around. They probably have a bigger fuel supply than, obviously, your average citizens. But think about what starts happening with people in a city. Okay, so grocery stores start getting hit, right? Because nobody's got any food. So it's not an instance of these people that are just rolling down into Union Square in San Francisco and hitting up Nordstrom's and jewelry stores and getting them some Gucci. You're talking about grocery stores getting busted into, workers leave because they're not going to stay in there for that. Shelves are emptied. People are fighting over everything. Anything that is possibly of value. The whole stores, like every store, is stripped clean of anything, because you're going to take whatever you can get your hands on. Maybe you can trade it. Then you go out. People are going to it's going to start turning into like a mob rule. You're going to have factions of people, gangs, right? So say you got a garden. Well, you ain't going to get any of that unless you've got the firepower to fend off the masses. If you're living in a city, because everybody's going to figure out who's got what. They're going to be going down. People are going to be going mad mobs down the street. They're going to be taken. And if you're not involved in one of the mobs, then guess what? You're going to be getting everything taken from you. Now, I'm just saying, this is not anything to get all excited about. But the way I'm looking at things right now, and the way that things have been going, it's just like, what's going to be next? What's going to be next? And you have to ask yourself, what's coming next? And is it by design? Are all these things by design? It's an interesting question, I suppose. One that you should ask yourself. One that maybe you should look at, do some homework on. I mean, it sure seems to be that every week it's something different, right? It was Ukraine. We stand with Ukraine. Everybody put Ukraine flags on their Facebook fucking profile and their Instagram profile, and people are hanging them up in the front of their houses. We don't know what's going on over there. We don't have a clue. We can sit here, I mean, and hey, yes, I have talked to people who do have people over there, and yes, I'm not saying that there's not stuff going on. However, there's also kind of I'm suspect of things. I don't believe a lot of these things that I hear. I don't believe a lot of the shit that I see. I don't understand, for one thing, why in the fuck, if Kyiv is under siege, why do we send basically our third in charge, being Pelosi and Antony Blinken, over there? Why would we, when we could do a Zoom meeting with all these people, why would we do that? Zelensky seems to always have some way of, communicating. And I mean, it seems like if the thing was, going that crazy, I mean, I don't know. I mean, here we got one that's saying live right now.
23 Palisade, the flagship model of the brand, and it has been updated, as you can tell, not only by the looks, but also on the interior. For example, you will now have a heated third row of seats. You will have a center rear view mirror that will fully digitally show you a picture of what's behind the car, so no more obstructions. And for example, it also is the first Hyundai car that features a Wi-Fi hotspot. So whenever you take someone in your car, you can say, hey, you want some internet? Then they will not have to surf on their data plan. They can do it with your car. When it comes to engines, there is only one engine, and it is not a hybrid nor a plug-in hybrid. It is a regular 3.8 liter V6 engine, around 290 horsepower, and that is probably also the reason why this car is not available, for example, in Germany. In Germany, the biggest Hyundai you can get, and the flagship model there, is the Santa Fe. The halls are huge, and since there are less exhibitors than there used to be, Hyundai decided to make its stand bigger and incorporate an EV test track. As you can tell, Hyundai Ioniq 5s are doing their laps right behind me, so visitors get to experience that car. And talking about the Ioniq 5, it has been proclaimed World Car of the Year.
Genocide in fucking Yemen, Syria.
That's it. My time on the New York International Auto Show is slowly coming to an end, and I really found it interesting to see that there are so many test tracks. Obviously, people are starting to get tired of seeing cars standing around, and manufacturers are seeing that, and that's why they offer test rides in different cars, in EVs, in Jeeps, and I think it's a pretty neat idea to attract people.
Joe Biden say that there's 9,000 leases out there.
Drive safe and see you next time on Rev.
You could have 9,000 leases out there that are bone dry. Oil company's not going to go set up a rig and start drilling until they know that there's pretty high percentage, an idea that they're going to get something, because they're in the business to make money. We've got refineries that are down. I heard that the one up in Billings is down. So the fuel prices here just keep going up. I don't know what they are today. I haven't been by a fuel station yet today. But I know when I went the other day, within a day it had gone up 10 cents. So diesel went up from $5.45 and 9 cents a penny. So it was $5.46. That's what I call that. I love how they put the 9 on the end. So they can put it at $4.99 and 9 cents. So then it gets up. Now it's edging towards 6 out here. I don't know what it is in big cities. I mean, it's hard to find diesel fuel in a city. I know the last time I went to
airplanes of the future will fly carbon neutral. To achieve this, new fuels are being researched. Synthetic fuels and green hydrogen are to replace the climate killer kerosene. Will the dream of environmentally friendly flying soon come true?
Tomorrow Today, in 30 minutes on DW.
2 days ago.
Fear of Russia.
I'm sure it's up again.
Traveling to the edge of the EU. On the borders of Finland, Norway, and Lithuania, the war in Ukraine is omnipresent.
They're just telling them.
In the past, contact with Russia was close and commonplace.
These are not.
How are people dealing with the new threat? Encounters at the
out there
border.
doing that Herman Munster
Close up.
Putting them down.
In 90 minutes on DW.
He's not come up with these ideas. He's not going up there on the podium and talking about any kind of thing that he's even thought about.
Not just another day.
All by design.
So much is happening all at once.
The reason that he hasn't been
We take time to understand.
taken out. And
This is The Day,
taken out to
an in-depth look at current news events, analyzed by experts and critical thinkers. This is The Day.
They don't want Kamala Harris in charge
Weekdays
because,
on
Jesus
DW.
Christ. I mean, she's worse.
Let someone
At least
else
they
do the hard
control
work.
this guy.
TV highlights
Her,
selected for
you don't know.
you.
She's just gonna
New
get there and
every
repeat the
week
same
in your
thing.
inbox. Subscribe now.
The significance of the passage of time.
It's not a question of whether the next crisis will come, but only when and how the media will deal with it. How can we stay focused on what is important?
No clue.
Shaping tomorrow
She's
now.
got that goofy ass husband that gets a
Exploring opportunities for media professionals in times of crisis.
Racing fucking roads and
The
safety
Global
of your
Media
kids and
Forum,
shit. It's like,
June
dude, you guys are there for the
2022.
infrastructure of this
Get your
country.
ticket
You're there to
now.
fucking fix this shit. Like Pete Buttigieg couldn't even fix the fucking potholes in South Bend, Indiana. He just... The guy takes a 2-month paternity leave. Congratulations, Mayor Pete. Glad you got kids. Once you got a job as the Secretary of Transportation of the whole goddamn United States, and we got a supply chain failure going on here. And you take 2 months. I'm sorry, but you're not breastfeeding anybody, neither is your husband. I'm sorry. Not meaning to be rude. Yeah, somebody's gonna say, well, men can lactate. Okay, sure. Okay, great, but feed the child. See if you can feed the child. See a biological man. I was gonna. You ever seen
This
that
is
scene from
DW
Family
News,
Guy
and these
where,
are our
where
top stories.
Stewie?
In the Philippines, supporters are celebrating after the son of former dictator Ferdinand.
Significance of the passage of time, though, because that's very important right about now. Oh, do 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 do, fa la la. All right, let's bring it on up here. Do 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 do.
The governor and I, and we were all doing a tour of the library here, and talking about the significance of the passage of time.
Do you know what that is?
Right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children.
What in the hell is she just talking about? I don't know. She went down to Jamaica, and mind you, this is the person that's supposed to be the border czar. She's supposed to. We don't even get into that, right? That's all. That's something that's nobody's even worried about. You know, the border was now the border is not. Now the big thing is this whole Roe v. Wade thing, and everybody thinks that what's happened is that the country's made abortion like illegal, like we're back to the cider house rules. All it did was take it and it's reverting it. What the draft opinion is posing is that it gets reverted to the states because it was unconstitutional to be a federal law. But they do have a bill out there that has passed the House, and we've talked about this. I've brought this up. You can look it up. You can look into it. I've brought up the photos of it. It's passed the House. They won't put it for a vote in front of the Senate because they want to wait for the midterm elections, because this is the only talking point that the Democratic Party is going to have for the midterm elections. This is the only thing they got going. Okay? So, we got all this nonsense going on here, and it's all a diversion. It's all diversionary tactics. It's all meant to distract you and keep you as stupid as they can, because if there's a bunch of stupid motherfuckers out there on this planet, it is the American people. And I'm sorry to say it. If you're offended by that, then you're one of them. If you're laughing right now, then at least you're not one of them. But if you're sitting there and you're upset because I'm calling the American people a bunch of stupid idiots, then guess what? Go put your fucking cone on your head and wander into the fucking corner. You know? Go have a timeout. That's all you've been having your whole life. We have the most uninformed electorate on the planet. Everybody thinks they get a sticker because they voted. They don't know what they're voting for. They don't have any idea what the policy is of the politicians that they're voting for. I mean, I'm sorry to say it. The majority of the people out there don't have a fucking clue what they're doing. Most people don't even know how to negotiate a four-way stop. In this town in Coyote, Wyoming, I hate going to four-way stops because, I mean, like today, I went to get my kid from school. He was sick. He had to come home. He didn't have the fucking unicorn or anything like that. He just, didn't feel good. No fever. Anyway, so I went down there to get him from the school. I mean, we hit a four-way stop. Okay, I'm making a left turn. Now, I see the person coming towards me. I see she's, probably in the 50s lady driving a fucking Subaru or whatever. I'm in the turn lane to turn left at the four-way. She's going straight. So as I'm coming up to the four-way, I slow down extra early and I just kind of really slowly coast into it so she realizes that she stopped first. And the fact that she's going this way, I'm going this way, but I'm turning, that it's her right away because she's going straight and she stopped before me. And I got to sit there and get into one of these, and she's waving at me and I'm like, I mean, people can't even negotiate a four-way stop. They don't know how to parallel park. I mean, I'm not trying to get into the whole driving thing, but I'm just talking about, this is just an example, I suppose, regarding community intelligence, which we do not have anymore. We're so worried about Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Who gives a shit? Who cares? Who cares? There was a case out here when I got out of prison and a woman got stabbed in the head with a fucking screwdriver and killed, and there was less attention to that than, I mean, who cares about that? Nobody cares. That's just a regular person. But when it's fucking Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, God, it's got to be all over the fucking TV and everybody's got to talk about it. It's a distraction. That's all it is. Nobody's paying attention to what the fuck is going on out there. You don't have a clue. You've got these ass clowns that are running the show here, and it's just a menagerie of bullshit is all it is. They're just trying to keep you as dumb as they can because they understand, deep down they understand that they are few and that there's a country, this country has got, 340 million people in it, plus whatever we have in, people that have spilled over the borders. God even knows what that number is. You got that fucking Mayorkas up there, that doofus, and then they want to start the Ministry of Truth. You really think that? I mean, I don't necessarily care for Josh Hawley, but he laid in Mayorkas. What's Mayorkas say? Well, it's this department, it all falls on, it's all my responsibility. And he's going, why? Who the hell decided to nominate this woman? The congresswoman from West Virginia told him, she's like, I implore you just to, she goes, you ought to just punt this thing, get rid of it. I mean, you got Mary Poppins. You got fucking Mary Poppins. One of the biggest disseminators of misinformation out there was this woman that they're putting in charge of the, whatever they're calling. They're using, they're arguing semantics on what they're calling it. He's saying, well, it's not a ruling. It's just it's a working group. It's a working group. What? Who's been the biggest disseminator of misinformation over the last couple of years that anybody can think of? Anybody? Bueller? Got your mask on? Got your mask off? Got 2 masks on? Have you had your 4th booster? Because that's the kicker right there. Yeah. Who has disseminated more misinformation? Is it me? I keep getting shut down for putting out real information. In the short time that I've had this podcast going, I have lost 3 weeks of time. Let me tell you about the significance of the passage of time. Tongue in cheek. Let's talk about that. I mean, here I am, somebody who's just, at the beginning of this little journey here, whatever the fuck it is that I'm doing. Sometimes I wonder. And I get shut down for 3 weeks. First time for 1 week, second time for 2 weeks. If I get a third time, then I'm done. They just shut my channel down. And knowing myself, that's what's going to happen because I always buck, and sometimes I just don't know when to shut my mouth. I'm trying real hard to be down the line here and keep things, where they want them, but it's getting very difficult when I watch all this crap that's going on week to week. And I shout out to Salty Cracker. I don't know how you get away with it, dude, but you do. I mean, the way he gets away with saying some stuff that I don't think I would get away with for a damn sight. But I love watching the guy. And hey, I'm not a hater, so check out Salty Cracker. Another one that's been shadow banned is Liberal Hive Mind. That's a good one to check out their YouTube channel if at all you happen to listen to anything I have to say, which not very many people tend to do. But you got to support the people that are actually approaching these things fearlessly. I mean, we all need, any of us that are out here putting our ass on the line. It costs money to do this. It's expensive, and there's not a lot of reward in it, especially for me right now. I pretty much dumped everything into this, so there's not much reward in it at all. And then when you get shut down because you cite medical studies from accredited places, and they take you off, and then the person that's got over 1 million viewers puts out the same podcast like a day or two later, and theirs stays up and doesn't get shut down. And I'm sitting here for 2 weeks on my thumbs, not being able to put anything out. That's and that's the way the country works. It's all about you got to cater to those that have, and then and that's an issue too. And we can get into that a little bit, but when you talk about a place, a country, right, like the United States, okay, anybody who's my age, upper 30s to 50 years old, I fall somewhere in that middle of that category a little bit on the higher, but anyway, I remember as a kid, this country had a pretty strong, like, most people that I knew were middle class. We were all pretty much middle class. For the most part, our mothers didn't work. And it was a rarity when that was the case. There weren't a lot of single mothers. The fathers made enough at their middle class job to, where we had a house, a car or two, maybe a couple of toys. Everybody was pretty much on a level playing field, at least out here where I was at. Okay. So I'm not speaking, I can't speak on anything else in that time period because I was obviously in Cody, Wyoming. The oil business was, it was up and down, but it was steady. And, a lot of people worked out there. But we're at a point right now where when you have a separation like we have right now, where we're getting to a point where the middle class is dissipating. So you either have your elites up here, or you've got the middle class that's fallen, the bottom's falling out, and they're doing whatever they can. Okay, you look at you look at credit card usage in the way that it's gone up month by month. People are living off their credit cards. Inflation, they're calling it 8.5%. It's not 8.5%. You don't have to be a genius to see that. All you got to do is go to the grocery store. I spent $400 at the grocery store last week, and I'm like, what the hell did I even get? I just thought, I'm going to go out and get as many, canned goods, dry goods, anything that'll stay, keep, it's getting to the point where we're getting separated big time. And the people that are falling on the higher end of the middle class, people that are, $100,000, $200,000 a year, $250,000 a year, it's going to go away. You might think you're comfortable right now and everything's going to be all right, but this is not going to be okay. And this all comes down to money. This all comes down to money. You look at the amount of money that Big Pharma has made off all this shit. Just look into it. That's all I'm saying. Do your homework. Look into it. It's not hard to do. Instead of going home from work and sitting your dead ass on the lazy boy and watching reruns of 2.5 Men or whatever the fuck it is. You know, pull out a laptop, get on there and start looking some things up. Don't come home and watch the fucking highlights from the Johnny Depp trial. Or listen to what these idiots have to say about, you know, the whole Roe versus Wade. I'm all for women's reproductive rights, okay? Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm pro-life. I'm pro-choice because it's not my choice. And, you know, I don't want to get into my sentiments on that whole ball of worms because that's probably going to be strike number 3 for me if I do. But believe me, it's not on the right wing side of things. Not at all. As typically with me, I'm usually neutral on a lot of things, don't care, or I have a completely different opinion on all of it. And I don't know. It's probably about a 50-50. I mean, as far as the economy goes, I have a completely different opinion on it. I don't think there's a fix. I don't think there's a way that this works out. I think we're beyond the point of no return. It's broken, and it's just going to continue to fracture, and it's going to get worse and worse and worse. And the problem is that we live on a planet of abundance. However, the powers that be have forced everybody to live in a world of scarcity. Think about that. This country was energy independent. Look at Venezuela. Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia does. Why do they have inflation that's through the roof? Why are groceries so expensive nobody can afford them down there? Because of the sanctions that have been put on them by this country because we want their oil. Period. They want to sit there and talk about how they care about the people of Venezuela. How Maduro's a socialist tyrant. And we want Juan Guaido in there. Why is that? And guess what happens when all of a sudden we have shortages? Now all of a sudden our government is addressing Maduro as the president when before that we're not going to recognize him. When he was elected, the United Nations said that was one of the cleanest elections ever. But what do? We try and dispute it. Talk about messing with people's elections. And then we want to sit here and talk about Russia. We've messed with more elections and more governments than anybody on the entire face of the globe. And for you flat earthers, I guess, on the entire face of the pancake. I don't know how that works. I've seen y'all try to explain it. I guess kind of weird. I don't know how you can fly one way and get to Hong Kong and then fly the other way and get to Hong Kong if it's flat. What's it doing? Is it spinning through? I mean, are we stationary? Where's the wind coming from and all that? I mean, I don't know. That's a conversation for another time with somebody who wants to debate it. Any flat earthers out there? Hit me up. Explain to me how this works. Explain to me how I could leave out of Cody, Wyoming, and I could head east and, hit JFK or whatever, and then, fly all the way to fucking Hong Kong that way, or I could go west and fly into like San Francisco and get to Hong Kong. If the earth is flat. Is there like a zone where it just goes... Is it shaped like a boomerang? I don't get it. Anyway, we started off talking about what happens with electricity going down. And I'm just saying, it's something I was thinking about today is that I would venture to get, within a month, a lot of people would be dying. I would think that if there was a mass incident, a mass event, say the power was down for a year, well, there's your eugenics, isn't it? I'd say 90% of the planet's gone. within a year. They're not people. I'm sorry, city folks. You all aren't going to live. I'm just being honest with you. You aren't going to make it. Straight up. I think about that. I got a lot of people in cities I care about too. I really do. And I've tried to talk to them about this, and it falls on deaf ears. But I mean, quite frankly, I'm pretty fucking happy where I'm at right now in this little town, because at least I know that I'm in a community where, you know, people will take care of themselves, and people do know how to. And people out here, it's a different. We're just of a different ilk, different, you know, different mindset than people that live in the city. But I mean, all of you in the city, I mean, I go there, I could stand a few days in the city, and it just drives me nuts. I mean, you know, watching these dudes wander around, you know, just, I mean, I would not want to take them camping with me, let's say that. And I'm not even a rough ass dude. I mean, there are dudes I know out here that go out there and, I mean, they'd go chew the ear off a grizzly bear, survive. I mean, I've been in that survival mode before. I've been in a position where I've been out there in the, you know, cold of winter, frozen from the waist down. Every move you make is you either make the right choice and you live, or you make the wrong decision and you die. I've been there a number of times. But I mean, nothing compared to some of these cats I know out here. Some of these dudes are rough. You know, and most people out here, that, I mean, they're going to make it in a situation like that. But in the city, I mean, think about a city the size of, you know, like LA, San Francisco, power goes out, people are trying to make an exodus, nobody can get fuel, cards don't work, accidents, traffic, I mean, the accidents alone in a city are going to be enough that no one's going anywhere. You just think about that one factor right there, traffic lights going out. You're going to have intersections just piled up. People yelling at each other, fighting each other, and then they got no phones. You know, you can't get any, the police don't want nothing to do with it, because why would they? They don't want anything to do with any of it anymore, and I don't blame them. I mean, you know, I mean, you jam somebody up, you take them in, and within hours they're back out. It's like the guy that ran all those people over in Wisconsin, you know. I don't know, folks. We're already sliding down a slippery slope, and the cliff is coming. Anybody ever had that happen? Lose their footing up on the side of a mountain, sliding towards a cliff? That's where we're at. That's where this country's at. And that's where, I mean, we're getting closer by the day, and we keep getting distracted by these morons and this jackassery and this garbage. You know, sit here and watch Peppermint Patty and somebody talking about the significance of the passage of time. And the guy that's in charge, we don't need these people. Do you need them? Do you need Kamala Harris in your life to tell you what to do? Do you need Joe Biden in your life to tell you what to do? Do you need Donald Trump in your life to tell you what to do on a day-to-day basis? Does anybody need that? Most of us are grown-ass people. We're adults, and we know what we need to do. And these idiots do not make a difference in our day. They don't. Do you need the Federal Reserve? Well, yeah, because we have confidence in that bullshit money. But it ain't worth nothing. There's nothing behind it. And it's tanking. And you've got Brazil that's wanting to go off the petrodollar. Russia's already said they're not accepting payment for any of their oil unless it's with a ruble. Those two right there, I mean, think about the hit that puts on the economy, because we sit there and we put the, you know, I mean, they have to use the petrodollar to pay for the exchange of oil. Any country does or did. And if they decide not to, that's how world leaders end up suiciding themselves too. That's what happened to Gaddafi. And, you know, watch out for that dude from Brazil. He may not be around too much longer. But the thing is we're not the terrifying superpower that we once were. I mean, what goes up must come down, folks. I can tell you what, that is a constant, and that is a verifiable truth. There's yin and there's yang. There's ups and there's downs. Peaks, valleys, whatever you want to call it. What goes around comes around. Karma, however you want to explain it. But I think the United States right now has got some karma coming back on it in a big way. Because this country's done a lot of fucked up shit. And it started at the inception. And it's gone on and on and on. And here we are. I mean, it's about ready to come back. And you know, the sad thing is that most of us, the majority of us, regardless, race, religion, you know, gender identity, sexual orientation, what have you, most of us have not had a thing to do with it. Which is part of the problem, because we are an uninformed citizenry. We're an uninformed electorate. We don't know what's going on. We've been put in a position where we're comfortable, we're complacent, and we're like Oliver Twist again, like I've said over and over, with our little bowl of gruel, asking if we could please, may I have some more? As long as we keep getting a little bit of gruel in that bowl, we're going to be quiet, right? Because we don't want to buck. We might not get our little bit of gruel. Well, fuck the gruel. We know how to make gruel. We're not going to have any crops because of fertilizer. Well, why don't we go back to farming the land like we should? We don't need the Monsantos to mass produce. I mean, we've got, you know, farmers are being paid, you know, being subsidized not to grow crops. How stupid is that? You know, we've got bird flu, millions and millions and millions of turkeys and chickens being euthanized. Anybody check out the price of chicken lately? I mean, you know, I'm looking at doing some vegetable growing here, I guess. Have something, because I really do think that it might be painful right now, but I think we're headed for a whole nother definition of that, unless we do something to change it all. And that's going to take a mass paradigm thought shift. And that means everybody out there is going to have to wake up. You've got to wake up. You've got to open your eyes and see what's going on here. Your life is short, and there's no reason for you to have to live it like this. There's no reason for us to have to live and be worried about these things. What is your major concern every day? What do you worry about? What stresses you out? Money, right? Right? Who out there is not stressed out about money? If you're not, and the thing is the middle class, or what was the middle class in this country, I mean, even people making minimum wage, they're in the top 1% globally. Think about that. We want to sit here and whine about $15 an hour minimum wage. Look at how some people in other countries are living. They don't even know where they're going to get clean water. Everybody should have clean water. Everybody should have food in their belly and in their counters and on the table, and clothes on their back, and live in a decent house that's warm in the cold of the winter, and that, you know, a place where you can be comfortable. There's enough out there for all of us. But what's it going to take? I mean, we can make this thing work without this. The monetary system is what's screwing us. This is global banking system that's really if you trace all these problems down to a baseline, what's it come down to? We don't care about democracy in Ukraine. Are you kidding me? They don't even have a democracy over there. They got reporters that are on a hit list over there. If you don't agree with it, it's not a democracy. And anybody that talks this democracy shit, I'm so sick of hearing that word. It drives me nuts. We don't live in a democracy, and I don't believe that anybody does. And if they did, it's a stupid idea anyways, because it's just the masses are asses of what democracy means. And look at the way this country goes. You got people throwing Molotov cocktails at Supreme Court justices' homes. People are dumb. Look at these people out there. I mean, you got the right to protest. Go ahead. Peaceably protest. Get your sign. Go out there and yell. You scream at the air. But you're not doing anything. You're grandstanding, and you're just, you're making it about you and your little precious whatever the fuck it is, you know, your little sensibilities or, you know, your clueless approach to the world. There's nothing that protest is really going to do. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, look what happened recently. How many cities were burned down, and did anything change? You got a cop that got sentenced to 20 years in prison out of all those cities that get burned down. In a world where we have a resource-based, not even an economy, but just a resource-based civilization where everybody gets not only what they need, but what they want, and they get to pursue what they want. I mean, I don't like the Beatles, but you know, my thoughts always return to the song Imagine. I really don't like the Beatles. I'm sorry, I probably piss a lot of people off. I don't like the Beatles. I don't like Creedence Clearwater Revival either. But I mean, the song Imagine, you know, I mean, the only reason that there's war is because of money. It's because somebody wants something that somebody else has. The only reason there's crime is it's because of scarcity, right? Why do people go out and commit robbery? Why do people do B&Es? Why do people do home invasions? Why do people do carjackings? It's because of scarcity. Why are people out there with drills drilling the bottoms of gas tanks out and filling up Folgers coffee cans with fuel right now? Scarcity, right? Can't afford it. Think about it. Think about a world where you didn't have to worry about it. Think about a world where whatever it is you want to do. You want to learn to go snowboarding. You go down to the little place. Everything's community owned. The people own it all. You want to go snowboard? You go down and you get yourself a brand new Never Summer board. And you take it up and you get a lesson. And you get on a shuttle or a train or whatever, you know, whatever form of transportation to get you there. Nothing costs a thing. There's no money involved. You get up there. You are introduced to your snowboard instructor. You go up and you learn the basics. Say you check the thing out for 3 days. You take it back to the place where you got it. Community owned. You drop it off. Next time you want to go, all you have to do is go pick it up. You want to go learn how to play golf. Same thing. You have golf clubs that are kept in good condition. They're sitting there. You just go get them. Go and you play. Hungry? You know, you go, you know, everything's community based. So it's not even trade and barter. It's not even putting we're not even talking about putting a physical value to where you're trading anything. It's just everybody owns it. It's everybody has their part in the production of things. And think about how well things would work if we were to embrace that ideology. Because think about how many people with the technological advances that we have in this world right now, none of us really would have to be working. Everybody thinks that's the worst thing in the world to talk about automation and technology, but it's not. Everybody wants to talk about their job. I gotta have my job. Why? So you can work every single decent year of your life until you're broke down and you got blue hair, and then you're on some bus going on a, expensive ass cruise where everybody lines up like cattle to eat a buffet and listen to some goofy Wayne Newton wannabe. Is that life? You're wasting the best years of your life. I'm 46 and I feel like I've wasted most of my life with working, and I've done my best to buck against it. And I'm over it. And I think a lot of you are too. I mean, that's my thought, that it's time to, you don't have a lot of time here. And I honestly believe that there's some reason that we're here hurtling through space and time on this rock. And it's not to sit there in a cubicle. It's not to go to college and go into debt. I mean, you see this system is made up of debt. That's it. The only way we have money is through debt. I don't know how many times I got to sit here and go, McFly, anybody home in there? It's debt. So we have to keep going into debt for this thing to keep flying. And these people that are running us, and that's what they're doing, they know that, and they're just going to keep going further and further and further until they can't push it any further, and the whole thing's going to implode. And I think we've already hit that point. It just hasn't come back on our heads yet. And if you're naive enough to think that that isn't the case, then I guess you're naive enough to think that that isn't the case. But I'm going to keep saying this, and I'm going to keep reiterating like Jen Psaki cupping the balls. You know, there's more to it. There's so much more to it that we don't see, that we don't even understand. We don't get it. We don't understand that we're here for a lesson. We're not here to work. Now, there's nothing wrong with work, but the connotation that it has and the form that we've, molded it into for everybody is not what it should be about. It should be about doing something that you enjoy doing. Like, I really like building furniture, and if you were in my studio, you'd see all this stuff. I've built this room, everything in it. It's all been put together, and I love doing that stuff. I like making tables, furniture, cabinetry, stuff like that. I like doing that. I like playing guitar. I suck at it, but I like doing it. There's a number of things that I enjoy doing. I enjoy being self-sufficient. I don't mind doing electrical work. I don't mind doing plumbing work. I don't mind being a mechanic. I like welding. I love lamp. I like doing this. That's what I'm trying to do, is live my life in a fashion that I'm doing things that I enjoy. Like when I sit on here and I'm talking to my 3.2 listeners out there, how y'all doing? Peace. I like it. I enjoy doing it. Maybe somebody's getting some good out of it. Maybe not. I don't know. It does me good, though. Makes me happy, makes me content. And being an introverted person, it gives me an opportunity to speak my mind about things. And I think that in my mind, in my egotistical mind, I think that, I don't have all bad ideas. I've had a lot of bad ideas, but I've also learned a lot of lessons. And that's what life is about. And I think that life is one big lesson that we were put here to learn, because think about it. We do not belong here on this planet. There's not a single species out there that would really have any kind of a problem at all if we were just eradicated. Look at a dog, for example. Por ejemplo, a dog reverts to being feral, to being what a dog is, within 7 days of being left alone. I've seen it happen. Within 7 days, that dog has reverted to being a wild animal. Crazy, out of its mind, and only worried about whatever he's going to eat next. He ain't your little friend anymore. 7 days, that's all it takes. So think about that. Especially out here in the wintertime. I go out, you got herds of all kinds of animals. Cattle out there wandering around, 20 below. Animals don't care. Go out there in the summertime, 105 degrees. They don't care. Us, if we aren't within 5 degrees of 70, we're bitching. Too cold, too hot, too dry, too humid. We're not comfortable. We can't survive out there. You take your clothes off and go out there and try and survive at night here in Wyoming. Even this time of year, it's going to get down to like 32 degrees tonight. Go out there. Go out there butt-ass naked and run around with the antelope tonight. See how that plays out. So there's a reason that we don't understand. We don't get it. We don't understand, and we're not going to, I don't think, until the ride's over. But we're here to learn a lesson, and we're not learning it because what we're doing is not working. Just look at this country. When you have a disparity between people, like we just keep doing this, going further and further away from each other. When you live in a society like that, it's not a good thing. That leads to violence, war, more crime, theft, people killing one another because of scarcity. Why is there any reason that we should have scarcity anywhere on this planet? There's abundance everywhere, and there's enough of it for everyone. And enough of it, I'm not talking about everybody lives in a cookie cutter piece of shit home and has to eat the same thing and do, I'm not talking about that. I'm saying there's enough for everybody to have not only what they need, but what they want. You want to travel somewhere, you just go get on a flight. You know? I mean, it's a relatively simple concept, yet it would be very difficult to recognize and realize. And it probably will never happen just because everybody's so, caught up in the whole MONEY thing. But I want you to, anybody who's listening, I want you to stop and think about it. If you didn't have money to worry about, if you didn't have to sit here tonight and think about it. I wish I didn't have to think about it. I would love that. If I didn't even have to bring it up, can you imagine if you didn't even have to bring money up? If you didn't have to think about a bank, if you didn't have to think about your checking account, if you didn't have to think about your credit card balance, if you didn't have to think about these things, if you didn't have to worry about it, imagine what your life would be like. Imagine where you could go, what you could do with it. Think about these things. Don't sit there and watch some stupid sitcom tonight. Sit down and think about these things. Write some things down. Do something that you want to do. Maybe if that's what you want to do, you want to sit there and you want to watch, I don't even know what TV shows are on, because honestly, I haven't watched TV and it's been like 4 years. I do research. I get information from the internets. I guess you could compare that to TV, but my reasoning for using it is it's a tool. All these things are tools. It's an information gathering tool. I use it because I don't frankly want to pay anybody to do mechanic work for me. So if I can get on YouTube and find some guy that's working on the same truck as mine doing the same thing and he's got a video about it, I'm going to sit there and watch it. And other than that, sometimes I want to laugh. Sometimes I'll have Family Guy on in the background. But that's more of a social commentary than anything. And I like listening to it, honestly, I don't really watch it that much. Sometimes I'll have it on in the background if I'm sitting here writing or whatever, or I'll put music on, but sitting there watching TV that are full of commercials and all that, and just, wasting your time. It's fine. It's your time. You can do whatever you want with it. But, I don't know. I think the next episode, we're going to talk about free will. I don't want to get into that right now because I've already been going for an hour and 20 minutes, and I was anticipating being off of here a lot earlier. But, you know me, I got the gift of gab. Man, I can sit here and talk to myself. Even though I feel like I'm talking to somebody. You camera, you. No, anyways. All right. Well, I don't know what we got to take us out with. Let's just look at the screaming lady. I wish I had one of those screaming goats. That'd be awesome. Well, I don't even know what. All right. Anyway, from 52 miles east of Jellystone Park in Coyote, Wyoming, I'm your host, Mike, and you've been tuned into the Mike Files. And as I say to end this thing every single time, be good or be good at it. In all things, be kind and do no harm. Peace.
controlling me. I sold my soul and stole the gold from royalty. I'm locked and loaded till the motor overheats. I'll rock the boat in seas I'm not supposed to be. The Holy Ghost is in my broken bones, and heaven only knows what being poked awoke in me. The homes of those who tried to slow my roll and throw me to the wolves will turn out burnt and smoldering. I'm filling the coffins with everything that I wanted, and then I'll drag them behind me so they will not be forgotten. I hit the bottle so often that when I did hit the bottom, it didn't hurt even a bit, but now I proceed with caution. And I've been haunted by rotten bodies. The path that I plotted been full of haters and demons. I burn a bridge when I cross it. I got $1 in my pocket that I'm saving just in case I get to where I'm headed and I still need change. I feel the ghost of rock and roll take hold of me. An overdose of I don't care what you believe. So fuck them all. I'm Jimmy Page, I'm Kurt Cobain, I'm Rolling Stone, lay guns and roses across my grave. Ashes to ashes, mama. Ashes to ashes, mama. This shit is blood and guts to me, it's mud and rust to me. That type of feeling when you love destructively. Its claws are stuck in me, it promised luxury. If I said I trust you, you are dumb for trusting me. Hate me publicly or wait for company, or pray to God your devil never summons me. Either way, you don't have shit to say. Without a Tom McDonald, you exist because of me. I'm fueling the fire with little beautiful liars. They burn the brightest, then I pull out every tooth with the pliers. They get a funeral suitable for the rumors that ruined all of the truth in my music. I took the food out the fryer. I've been held back without a burn. My boots made of iron. I keep a cooler full of booze cause I'm a juvenile tyrant. I never lose, I give him Lucifer, and he knows who I am. So when you meet him, say I said what up, there's 0 survivors. I feel the ghost of rock and roll take hold of me. An overdose of I don't